Alright, hello everyone, DarkSidePhil here, and welcome to a special video, impromptu. I usually don't do videos like this. It's not the norm for me to be doing a reactionary vlog video to something going on in the gaming world, simply because mostly I cover games through playing them. But in particular today, there is some major controversy going on all over the internet regarding an upcoming release this coming Monday, Batman Arkham Knight, and the fact that the review scores for this game are being released. I want to share my take on this because unlike a lot of other people who seem to be either far on one side or the other, I seem to find myself somewhere in the middle, and I think I have a unique take on this issue, which I have expressed over the years, but let's face it, messages get lost over the time that you say them, you know what I mean? So I think it's a good time for us to sit down and re-examine the issue. The issue at hand is that Batman Arkham Knight, the final game in this ongoing trilogy of Rocksteady Batman games, is coming out this following Monday. It is now Friday, June 19th, and the preemptive game reviews, that's right, the mainstream gaming media who received advanced copies of this game and did formal reviews of it, are now releasing their reviews today because I guess Rocksteady and WB Games actually have some confidence in their game. They actually allowed people to put reviews out early. We've had some games in recent memory where the publishers have not allowed reviews to go out early, although I don't understand how you could even have an embargo on a review besides holding someone hostage and saying we'll never send you a review copy again, which is kind of, I guess, what happens here. So that's kind of underhanded to begin with, right? You can't review our game early because basically we have no confidence in it. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But in this regard, yes, WB and Rocksteady allowed everyone to review the game and release the reviews today. And across the board, those reviews that are coming out seem to be very positive. Polygon gave it a 10 out of 10, saying it's like the best Batman game ever created, and it's the best next-gen console game, or I guess current-gen console game out there. IGN, 9.2 out of 10. Almost perfect, right? But the big controversy this morning is all revolving around Gamespot.com's review, which incidentally ends up being a 7 out of 10. Now, apparently the person who reviewed the game is like the head editor or one of the lead editors over at GameSpot, so they did give it to a person who's higher up in the company to review this game. And the major negatives about the review are that, number one, the Batmobile segments, which are the new segments of the game, the new gameplay that was added to this portion of the Batman franchise, okay, supposedly drag on, supposedly are not very good, and this person had a lot of issues with it, didn't like it at all, just disliked the Batmobile segments that were added to the game that were supposed to be the new gameplay catch. In addition, apparently the game drags on in the second half. There's some monotonous fights and kind of predictable monotonous boss fights, as well as some predictable plot twists near the end of the game, and basically saying the second half of the game isn't very good. Gave the game a 7 out of 10. That's fine, and I have always been of the opinion that anyone can review a game whatever they want as long as they can justify it. And if you actually read the review, okay, and you're listening to all these negatives, you're like, okay, if I were just reading this one review ever from GameSpot, one review, I've never read another Gamespot.com review, and I'm reading this review makes sense. 7 out of 10, if you really don't like a major addition to the franchise in this installment, if you thought the second half of the game was kind of slow and everything was monotonous in it, yeah, I could see you giving the game a 7 out of 10, okay? Immediately, of course, the internet flocks to the review because it was released around 5 hours ago from when I'm making this video. They flock to the review and they just slam it with negativity and how dare you criticize the next game from Rocksteady, this Batman game. They're all good. We know this game's going to be awesome. You don't know what you're talking about. This is a hack website. Some other people actually, quoting the other reviews. Well, I don't understand. Polygon gave it a 10. IGN gave it a 9.2. You give it a 7. Obviously, someone's not in line here. It's you, so fuck GameSpot, okay? I just want to make this clear that I am not in line with those people, all right? Everyone can review a game however you want, again, as long as you justify it. And if you actually read the review, again, if this were the only review you were ever reading from GameSpot.com, you could actually say, yeah, the actual meat of the review justifies the score that they gave it, a 7 out of 10. Now, keep in mind, when I do my game reviews, which I do kind of, I would say infrequently, it's when there's a new major release and I finally finish it, which could take some time, My reviews are very strict, and my review is a more strict scoring. For me, a 7 out of 10 means it's above average game, but it hasn't reached that upper echelon of greatness that would be considered, say, a Game of the Year contender. It's good, it maybe is even slightly better than good, but it's not greatness, okay? And really, 7 out of 10, that's what, almost 3/4? Yeah, that's a good score. But the problem is that the mainstream gaming media for years have overinflated scores so badly that when people hear 7 out of 10, they think that's a 0 out of 10. The game's a piece of shit. How dare they slam the game? When in reality, that's not what happened here, okay? But actually, that's not the point I'm trying to make in this video. My issue is not with GameSpot giving Batman Arkham Knight a 7 out of 10. My issue is with the fact that GameSpot, and much like most mainstream gaming media, are irresponsible with these number scores that they give games in their reviews. They don't properly scale their reviews so that they make sense in contrast to the other reviews that the same exact website put out. And then those scores get plastered on Metacritic and overall skew review scores, making them worthless. So I'm going to give you some perspective here, okay? Batman Arkham Knight, 7 out of 10 because Batmobile sucks and because the second half of the game is kind of monotonous. Okay, fair enough, 7 out of 10. Assassin's Creed Unity was a game that was released in late 2014. Last year's Assassin's Creed, franchise entry on the next-gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One. Across the board, everyone who played this game recognized it had massive technical issues. Insane frame rate drops, ridiculous, distorted, just fucked up, glitchy graphics, leading to horrendous errors in the game, horrible game-breaking bugs. The game was an unpolished turd. And the bottom line is, if the game was polished, like the other games in the Assassin's Creed franchise, people might have said, this is an amazing game, 9 out of 10. The problem was it wasn't. You could tell this game was rushed to market. They knew that there were glaring bugs in the game, and they didn't give a shit. They just released the game saying, we don't give a fuck about you and the quality of what game you buy. We don't care that you're putting down your hard-earned dollars for our game. It's Assassin's Creed. We know you're going to buy it anyway. Fuck you. Here's a piece of shit. Everyone bought it and was like, what the fuck, okay? Gamespot.com, which did cite all of the errors, the bugs, the graphics, all this issues, gave Assassin's Creed Unity a 7 out of 10. Are you starting to see my point now? Batman Arkham Knight has one point of the game that's not very good, and the second half of the game drags on. 7 out of 10. Assassin's Creed Unity, a game that's barely functional in certain parts of the game. A game that everyone lambasted, everyone collectively said this game was a ripoff, don't buy it because Ubisoft rushed it out and it's a piece of shit, got a 7 out of 10 from GameSpot, the same score, alright? I'm going to go a step further, alright? Lords of the Fallen, a blatant Dark Souls ripoff game that was trying to make another game like Dark Souls because we were all waiting for Bloodborne to come out earlier this year. A game that had insane amounts of technical issues. And we're not just talking graphical bugs this time, we're talking critical gameplay bugs. Enemies vanishing off the screen, reappearing with full health for no fucking reason. Like, imagine Dark Souls, but a broken-ass Dark Souls that didn't work. That's how Lords of the Fallen was at launch. Guess what GameSpot reviewed the game? 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for a game that functionally was broken. I would have to say, I'm sorry, I played Lords of the Fallen for around 8 to 10 hours. I would have to say the GameSpot reviewer that reviewed Lords of the Fallen, one of two things happened. Either they managed to get some kind of a miraculous review copy of the game that had no bugs, which makes no fucking sense because everyone had bugs with that game at launch, or they didn't play it long enough to actually give it a legit review. They played it for like 3 hours. Oh, it's kind of like Dark Souls. I'll pretend like I played the whole game, and then they reviewed it. Now, I'm not saying that's what they did, but everyone who played the fucking game at launch agreed the game was a broken piece of shit. So again, how can you give a game that is broken an 8 out of 10, but you give a game where you're giving legit criticisms to negativity, but it's not that bad, a 7 out of 10? This is the issue I have with mainstream game review sites. Not that their scores are wrong, not that they don't know what they're doing when they actually review the game. If you actually read the text of a game review from a main review site, it's actually pretty good because let's face it, these people are journalists. They went to school for it. They know how to write a yarn, right? They know how to write it so it's gripping and that they can hit the point. The problem is in the number score. The number score of mainstream review sites are ridiculously wrong all the fucking time when you compare that with everything else that that business has put out. And ultimately, the job of making sure that a game review is correct falls to the job of the head editor, the review editor whose job it is to not only proofread, to make sure that it is a narrative in a review that makes sense and is continuous and congruous, and that when you put that out there that people can understand it, but also that the score makes sense. If you read a review that 95% of the review says, this game sucks, and then they give it an 8 out of 10, it's the editor's job to say, no, the score is wrong, we need to fix this, and sit down with that game reviewer and fix the score together. That's the job of the editor. So where the fuck are the editors for mainstream review sites that you can have one game that has legit things wrong with it, 7 out of 10, two other games that are barely functional, 7 and 8 out of 10. Makes no fucking sense. Anyone with a logical brain could say that makes no fucking sense. But because they're the mainstream media, we give them a pass, right? Oh, it's GameSpot, it's IGN. Because they have millions of dollars of advertising revenue behind them that make them profitable businesses, we give them a pass, right? That's okay. They can just fucking give it whatever score they want. And the biggest cop-out that anyone can ever use, if you are a fucking pussy and you have absolutely no spine and you want to, oh, I got to stand behind a review score, what do you say? You say, well, reviews are just opinions. Reviews are just personal opinions. So a review can say 1 out of 10, or a review could say 10 out of 10, and shame on you if you say that that says that it's not correct because it's my opinion. Wrong. Only a fucking spineless, nitwit, illogical coward would ever say something like that, because anyone who actually has legitimacy, honor, and professionalism would tell you, no, a game review is a combination of personal opinion paired with facts. It's both subjective and objective. So, it's the game reviewer's job to objectively list the pros, the cons, and then to subjectively take the pros and cons, weigh them, and give the game a number score. It is the editor's job to then make sure that that narrative makes sense and weigh it and balance it with everything else that a business has put out and make sure that it's in line with it, okay? That's the problem with mainstream game sites. They're not doing this. They're just saying, well, it's a review, it's an opinion, it makes sense when I read it, so just publish it. Instead of saying, well, wait a minute. Last year, we said that this game that has way more flaws than this game was a higher score than that, so that score obviously can't be valid. So we have to balance everything to make sure it makes sense. When I do my reviews, I do this. I think of all the games that have come out in the past year or so that I've played, and all the things that I've played recently. And I say, at this point in time, if you were to buy this game, what would I rate it in regards to everything else that I've recently played? And I actually, you may not realize this, when I review a game, I look back to my listing of scores that I've given games over the past several years. If it's a sequel, I look back to the score I gave the previous iteration of that game to say, was this better or worse than the last game in the series? I do all of that research because that's called due diligence. That's what someone who's professional and who actually fucking cares about the work that they're putting in would actually do to make sure that when they give you a score, a review score, it's going to be in line and it's not going to be skewed or based off of, oh god, I stubbed my toe this morning and it really hurts. So when I reviewed this game, I decided to give it a 5 out of 10 instead of a 7 out of 10 because I was in a bad mood. But it's an opinion, so it's protected, right? Because reviews are opinions, so therefore no one can ever say that what I did was wrong because I'm a spineless fucking coward and I hide behind that instead of actually having to justify what I put in for a day's work, what I get paid for, and what will now go to Metacritic and skew the fucking scores incorrectly because I'm an asshole. Now, all that being said, okay, I fully understand that most of the people that are probably on the GameSpot review, if you actually look at the GameSpot review as of right now, again, 5 hours ago, has some over 3,000 dislikes and like 1,500 likes. So massive amounts of people are disliking the review. I would probably guesstimate, I'm not reading the thousands of comments on the video, but I would guesstimate the majority of people on that video are basically thumbing it down, okay, because they're basically saying, we don't agree with this. We think this game's going to be awesome and we're hyped for it, and how dare you give it a negative review when other websites are giving it a positive review. I disagree with that. I think that everyone has the ability and the right to review a game how they want as long as they can justify it. The problem is this review, 7 out of 10, compared to the other things GameSpot has done, is not justified. So in that regard, if those 3,000 dislikes were because people are saying, no, we've seen what you put out before and this makes no fucking sense, then I say I agree with it. Of course, the masses probably don't do their due diligence to find that out either. But now, I hate to say it, I gotta go on the flip side, alright? I have to go on the flip side because I'm looking at this video, this review, and I'm reading the comments, and there's a few comments on this video from other popular gaming YouTubers. Now, I'm not going to call out these YouTubers because guess what? Every time that I do, people say I'm name dropping, I'm doing it for popularity. Whatever. You can say whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to call out the name of the YouTuber because I don't have to. There's a couple of comments on this video that I need to actually directly address, okay? I'm going to read 2 of them. The first one here has when I wrote this down, over 1,300 dislikes. I'm sorry, excuse me, I screwed that up. Over 1,300 likes, so 1,300 people who watched the review agree with this comment. Oh no, this game I really want to like, but haven't played it all yet, got an arbitrary score lower than what I'm comfortable with. So go kill yourselves, GameSpot. There, I saved you the trouble of having to read the other comments here. They're pretty much all this. 1,300 likes for that comment. Okay? I'm going to read another comment from another popular YouTuber. This one had around 200 likes and growing. Oh gee, look at the insecure mouth breathers crying because GameSpot doesn't love a game that they do, even though the people thumbing down this video haven't even played this game yet. This community is ridiculous sometimes, man. Unreal. Okay. If there were absolutely no legitimacy to people criticizing this review, okay, I would say I agree with these people. The problem is those comments show an incredibly elitist attitude, alright, saying, how dare anyone criticize a game review and give it a thumbs down or comment on this video negatively because we all know you didn't play it yet, but this game reviewer did, alright? That's like saying, seriously, that's like saying, well, some movie reviewer reviewed a movie badly before the movie's out, but, you know, you're not part of the movie industry, so how dare you ever criticize what they do? It's ridiculous. Now, again, if this criticism is directly of people who are doing the knee-jerk reaction, well, I'm a Batman fanboy. I don't agree with Batman fanboys, and I agree that they should not have their, you know, million thumbs down be counted in any kind of way, shape, or form. But the bottom line is there is a legit criticism to be had here. GameSpot does not score things properly in range of everything else that they score. They don't professionally review games. It's that simple. The review content of GameSpot is great. The number score is shit. And they are completely irresponsible in that regard. Time and time again, this has been proven that they're not in scale. So it's totally legit to have 3,000 thumbs down and have tons of negative comments on this video. Comments like this from popular gaming YouTubers just show that even they have their own heads up their fucking asses, and they don't want to understand that reviewers are not fucking immune to criticism. Alright? I've said this time and time again, and I'll say it once a fucking again. I don't believe that anyone should get an advanced copy of a video game, okay? And I understand there are people out there that will completely disagree with that, and they'll say, but Phil, if people don't get advanced copies of video games, then how would you know if you want to buy it on release day? You want to know my answer to that question? You won't. Wait a couple fucking days, because guess what? The same game that came out on Tuesday is the same game that if you buy it on Thursday is the same game if you buy it 3 weeks from now. It's the same fucking game. The game doesn't magically change just because you didn't play it on release day. So if you don't have the $60 to throw down and gamble on release day like a lot of people do, then don't do it. Wait and wait for people who legitimately buy the game on release day to all collectively play the game together, and then you'll get a general consensus of how the community feels. I much rather would trust a review from someone who's not in one of these mainstream gaming media outlets, from someone who's not paid to rush a review, because that's the bottom line. These people who are now rating Batman Arkham Knight probably got the game a week or two ago. Of course, they had other job responsibilities and things that they had to do, even though this is the biggest game in a long time. I'd probably say this is the biggest game release since Bloodborne back in March, and they should take all of their prioritized time. Probably didn't. They probably had all these other job responsibilities to do, and they had to get through the game as fast as they could without even actually talking about it, because that would ruin the review, right? If other people have influence on the review or whatever. So they're playing through it, and a lot of the times these games have online features that the reviewers aren't even actually experiencing because the game hasn't launched fully online yet. How can you review the multiplayer of a game that's not fucking out yet? You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a core aspect of the game. In the case of Batman, it's not, but I've seen reviews, oh, well, keep in mind this game will have co-op as a core aspect. Here's my review of everything else. Then don't review it. You don't need to fucking review it because people want to know about the core aspect of the game. But the point I'm making is, people getting advanced copies are skewed reviews to begin with. And the fault of review advanced copies is that you have a small elitist group of people who now control the mass opinion. Because let's face it, if GameSpot, IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, I could probably name about 7 or 8 major media outlets out there that everyone kind of, oh, this is the well-respected mainstream gaming media. If they all review a game and give it a score of 5 out of 10, chances are that you will not buy the game. Let's just face it. Now, that might be an exception to the rule where you're just one of those people who shuts it out. But if the consensus of mainstream gaming media is it's 5 out of 10, you're going to skip that game. And the majority of gamers will skip the game. Versus if everyone went out and you actually had people who spent their money on release day, and now you've got people who aren't paid to fucking do it. People who have to put out quality content for you and legitimately review the game because it's a free relationship. I make a free video for you. You watch the video. If you like the quality of the video, you allow me to keep making money versus these assholes over here who make ad revenue livings, right? If I pad the fucking review of this game, I'll make a ton of money. Oh, if I lower the review of this game, we'll get more page hits and therefore we'll make a ton of money because there's ads on our page. So it's ridiculous. They don't base their actual living off of legitimacy at all. They base it off of ad revenue versus the common gamer who does stuff on YouTube does base it off of legitimacy, because if we're not legitimate, no one watches our shit. So I would much rather wait till release day, game is released, real gamers fucking play, not journalists, not elitist gamers who got the game 2 weeks early and streamed it all over fucking Twitch for extra views and money and then hyped it up for 2 fucking weeks so you'll watch their playthrough. No, people who actually are normal fucking people who are putting down their hard-earned $60. Not they got the game for free so they could give 2 shits if the game's good or not. People who actually had to pay for the fucking game, then tell you if the game's good or not. That's who I fucking trust. I'm sorry that, people want to have these advanced... It's not a perfect world. You can't have advanced knowledge of everything. There's no fucking psychic guru who's going to look forward in time and tell you if a game's going to be a hit or not. What you're going to get are skewed perspectives from people who are getting the game for free. And that's the problem with these advanced fucking reviews. They mean shit. You might as well shit on a fucking shingle and melt it in the middle of your fucking street, because that's about the quality of advanced game reviews. They're not legit. They're not from real gamers who are putting down their hard-earned money to play the fucking game like you, and they're not going to give you a review that's from your perspective. They're going to give you a skewed review of someone who's rushing to finish the game for a fucking deadline, who didn't put any money into the game. Why do you think there were some reviewers out there who gave a game like The Order 1886 decent to high scores? Because they didn't pay for it. They got it for fucking free. So of course they're not going to say, oh, well, yeah, the game was really short, it's all cinematics, but it was a fun ride. Yeah, but you didn't pay $60, jackass, so you're not the one who felt the bite in the pocket when you didn't lose your money on a fucking stinker game you beat in one sitting like everyone else did. That's why your review's a piece of shit, and that's why people shouldn't listen to the bullshit. So I have issue with both sides. If you're a fanboy adamantly defending Batman for no fucking reason, shame on you. Because especially if you really haven't played the game yet, you have no right to criticize someone else's review and say, oh, this guy says the game sucks, but I didn't play it yet. This guy's an asshole. No, you don't have the right to do that. But on the flip side of that, if someone has legitimate criticism and says, but GameSpot, reading their review, has these negatives to say about the game, there's these games they've reviewed previously that have way more flaws and way more negatives, but they're the same score or the other game was scored higher, yeah, then you have a gripe against a fucking review from GameSpot. And shame on these fucking YouTubers who are going to try to shame the people who are thumbing down the video when they're basically only seeing from one very narrow-minded, elitist fucking perspective, and they refuse to see the view from the common gamer's perspective. And I hate to say it, but people like this probably haven't seen from the common gamer's perspective in a very fucking long time, which is why I cannot imagine why the fuck people listen to people like that. But I digress. Thank God I'm not calling out YouTubers, because then people would say I'm trying to challenge them and talk shit, which I'm not. I'm trying to make a point. Be an informed consumer. Be an intelligent consumer, right? When you read a review, take it with a grain of salt. When you see 7 out of 10, take a look at the other game reviews that game studio or game media outlet has put out recently, and understand if it's in scale or not, and if you should trust that 7 out of 10, or if it's a piece of shit. Because that's the ultimate problem we have today. People getting games ahead of time. There's literally no risk in them giving the game any kind of a score, because they hide behind, oh, journalistic integrity says that a review is an opinion and I can say whatever I want. Well, you're wrong. You're absolutely fucking wrong. You have a moral, a professional responsibility to those who are going to take that score and judge their purchasing ability and their purchasing decisions off of your score, to make sure that that score is in line at least with the other shit that you've said before. And that's where I say shame on the mainstream gaming media, and I have to say shame on the common gamer who take a media score like that and say, I just gotta believe it. If I go to Metacritic right now and it says that a game's a 7 out of 10, I just believe it. I don't read any reviews. I don't read the text of the review. I just see the number. I don't have time for that. I see the number and that's it. That's the dumbest thing you could possibly fucking do, because you need to see from different people's perspectives. You need to read the review. You need to listen to the content of the review. Yeah, I give number scores on my Hateful Truth game review series, but I always say watch the whole review, because I try to outline the positives, the negatives. A lot of the times I even give you perspective from a common gamer versus a fan of the series, the difference in your mindset of how you might like or dislike the game. I try to go the extra mile, which is not what the mainstream does. The mainstream rushes through as much as they possibly can to give you the number score. So, the whole Batman Arkham City debacle, yes, it's controversial. Yes, there's all kinds of people up in arms about it right now. I'm going to play it on Monday like I play every fucking game. When it comes out, just like everyone else, I'm putting down my money. In fact, I already paid for it online. I'm getting the PS4 digital version. I'll play it when it comes out at 9 p.m. Pacific time, like everyone else. I'll take my time to play it, like every other normal human. Won't rush through it. And when I beat it, I'll review it legitimately, weighing the pros and cons and balancing it against all the other games that I've played, which is what every reviewer should do. So if you like that, watch my review of it. If you don't, then go watch this other shit, but you have to take it all with a grain of salt, because you have to understand their perspective. No financial investment. Pull out the review for maximum views and maximum attention. Don't get paid based off of the legitimacy of their work, but instead off of ad revenue. Those are 3 huge fucking factors you need to take into account when you're reading a review like on Gamespot.com, okay? So that is it for my little impromptu rant. I hope that at least I've given you a new perspective, or at least I've given at least a little bit of information about the whole reviewing industry, my gripes with it, and the fact that you should not just take it as a Bible truth that a number on a fucking Metacritic site or on GameSpot should be taken as the score for a game. I mean, ultimately, it's up to you. The power's in your hands as the consumer. You're the ones. It's really not, ultimately. It is not the reviewer that determines the ultimate fate of a game. It's you, the purchaser. Even if everyone says a game's a 5, if you go buy that game, you've given power to that publisher to make another game. So understand that you don't have to go with the flow. Just because everyone says a game's great or everyone says a game sucks doesn't mean that you have to agree with it and you have to go with it. You still have the purchasing power to make things happen. There have been games out there that critically weren't very well received and did huge sales-wise, or vice versa. Incredibly well received critic-wise and no one bought it and the studio went into oblivion. You have the power. You are the gamer. You are the consumer. Don't let these elitist fucks tell you what's good and what's not. Judge for yourself. Take everything with a grain of salt. Question everything. Be skeptical of everything. And that way you'll get to the utter truth, rather than just being a gullible person who believes everything. Who believes, oh, my favorite YouTuber made a cynical comment. I guess I know that I know what way I'm going now with this game. Ridiculous. All right? Judge for yourself. Be your own person. That's the way to go through life. Don't fucking just be a following sheep and believe everything everyone tells you. That's it for my rant. I hope that you enjoyed it. Peace out. I'm getting back to gaming. I'm literally the latest stream of gaming to do this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.